Not only do you get exposed to it as an adult, let somebody you love deeply get involved with it themselves. And out of love for that person, you now start to waver what you know is right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Have everybody's a sponge.
Yeah.
Just because you're an adult, don't think you're not a sponge like that child. If anything, I believe even the older you get, the more easily influenced you can get. Because guess what kids do? Kids question everything. Adults start to ask less questions.
What up? What up? Appreciate you joining me today. I have a guest with me. He goes by the name I Am. He's an author of the book you see right here, Dad, I Love You, How to Love an Absent Father. And we'll definitely get into that for sure. It just the title alone is loaded. I mean, it's but before you even get into what's inside the book, which I haven't got a chance to get to it yet, but just that title alone intrigued me and it made me want to talk to you today. So you can go ahead and introduce yourself a little further.
Man, peace and blessings, wonderful people of the world. My entire government name is Ibrahiem A. Mallese, but I go by the great name of I Am, the perfect representation of the creator of the universe. Not saying that's what I am. I'm a Southwest Philadelphia native. Grew up here on West Side Atlanta. Spent 7 years in. At this point, I can claim Arkansas a little bit. I was there 7 years. Now I was there against my will, but I can claim it just a little bit.
So when you say against your will, what do you mean?
I did 7 years incarceration in Arkansas.
Got you.
I was
Okay.
only living in Arkansas 3 months before I got incarcerated.
So what if you don't mind, what caused you to be incarcerated?
I tagged along a robbery.
Oh, got you. Yeah. Yeah. That's unfortunately how it goes sometimes with us.
Actually, let me be a little bit more blunt than that. I tagged along in a robbery, but it's two things that got me incarcerated: the actual act itself, but all the acts and events in my life that even encouraged me to involve myself in that. All the past decisions that allowed me to make that at the time present decision.
So when you say the past decisions, like what are you referring to?
Lifestyle, gang member, tagged along with a lot of events. And at some point, and it's the most arrogant thought that every criminal who's been caught has, is when you've gotten away with so many things, at some point you begin to convince yourself that there's a level of invincibility to you. And once you've stepped into that way of thinking, you've already been caught. The only thing is now when it's actually going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that same kind of statement before. When like, you start feeling untouchable and you just move in a certain way. It's like the way that it was described to me, and I don't know if this is true for you or not. The way it was described to me was he wasn't trying to get caught. As a friend of mine, he wasn't trying to get caught, but the thrill of getting caught kept him, doing the things he was doing. And he was young, but that's kind of how he was processing it, I guess.
There's always that brief thrill, but the moment you start feeling like you can't be touched, you've been touched already now.
Mm.
Because the level of security you had before, the level of caution you had, it begins to evaporate. Because that arrogance gives you a level of comfort, and that's the mistake every criminal who gets caught make. The moment you're now comfortable, you're no longer preparing not to be caught.
Mm. Yeah. So, how, like, what age did you go in and come out? Like, did you turn into a man, or were you already grown? Like,
Well, in the teachings of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he tells us we're never really men until we get ourselves a woman. So, I can't really say that just yet. I was, to paint a picture, I was going to college in Arkansas. I was going to Arkansas Baptist College. I turned 20 October 6th. I was in jail by the 26th of that month.
Man, man. So yeah, still went in young.
Yeah.
Came out young, but went in young.
Ironically, I got out of prison a day before my birthday.
Oh wow. I
That
guess
wasn't my release. That wasn't even my release date. I actually wasn't even supposed to get out that day, paper wise. It just ended up playing out that way.
yeah. Man, that's tough. I only I've had one family member who went to prison, and he was already, I mean, he had kids and was married and everything, and then he went in, and I pretty much met him when he came out. But it's just, I just see what it can do to people's like brain, you know what I mean? Like really shift of how a person thinks and moves and everything like that. Understandably, of course, but just kind of see how that goes sometimes. Um, so yeah, man, let's get into your book a little bit. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to get into it yet. What kind of inspired you to write this book? Well, first of all, what is it? You can kind of tell what it's about by the name, but kind of give a brief little summary about what it's about.
Well, it has two statements that in most common senses wouldn't go with each other. Dad, I love you, how to love an absent father. Two statements that usually don't even coincide with one another.
Yeah,
What the book is about, now the book is based off my actual life experiences and persons that's happened. But the book is a step by step I have for the book is aimed actually at men. Now, women can read it too because I've had females read it and tell me it was beneficial to them. But I say that from the beginning. The book is geared towards men because it's about repairing that father and son relationship. And to me, that's very important because if you're a man and you have children, especially you have a son, there may be a level of disconnect between you and your son if that connection was never established between you and your own father.
yeah,
So what the book is based off my personal experiences that I had to go through, but it gives practical and pragmatic steps that you can use on the path of learning not just forgiveness for your father, but in hopes of form of love for them. For some people, it may vary. It's going to be based off that person.
right. So, so clearly you grew up without your father in the house. Did you have a father figure at all?
I had what you would call in and out father figures, like people who served a timeline purpose,
Right.
but it never really filled the gap on what I would needed to have and what I was supposed to have.
Yeah.
And then at that, when I did get to that age where more solid figures were coming around that weren't just here to leave, I was already at the age I ain't want nobody to come in. I'm done with all that.
Yeah. He was already, you are who you are, like at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I my kind of structure in my home was my dad wasn't there. My mom had a long-term boyfriend who was actually my brother's dad. And we're still close to this day. But there was a period in my life where my um biological dad, where I was probably 13 and I had it in my head like, oh no, I hate him. Like that was my thoughts. Like I'm like, whatever, you know. And then because what happened, there was a time when he came around for a little while and he would do things, take me get a haircut, give me something to eat, stuff like that. And then it kind of just faded off. And the crazy thing is, I assume in your, like you said, your book is about your life experiences, and that's how you kind of expressed it. Me, I came on here on a podcast and I'm talking about it, and he saw a clip and we had a real face-to-face, got heated, you know what I mean, like actual conversation. And the thing is, in that moment nothing was kind of resolved, I guess, but we're so much alike without even being around each other that there was an understanding of what's going on here. Like there was a certain respect that had to be gained. Like he had to realize that I'm a man. You know what I mean? He didn't see me grow up necessarily. So I had to realize I was a man and kind of give that respect. And I also had to, in my head, think about his situation when I was first born. You know what I mean? He was young, all that stuff like that. I had to think about that kind of stuff. Do you know kind of what caused your situation to be what it was?
I can only guess. When it's all said and done, I can really only guess. Because my father was around for a brief period of time when I was a child.
Yeah.
So I'm not just going to say he was just there, but I knew who he was and he would come around. And then there was one day he came, and this was the last day. And it was never discussed why he left. But it took me getting older to start realizing there are things that possibly happened within him and his life that I don't know what caused him to get to. Like, I can assume, like, my father's an immigrant. He came from Ethiopia during a warring period. Even other Ethiopians who are from the region he's from, they've told me if he came over here by himself with no other family, there's a chance his family's probably dead.
Mm.
So understanding a specific events that happened in his life that caused him not to be there, I can humanize and sympathize with him. Like, something happened to you that never got repaired.
Right. And you haven't had a chance to have that conversation with him?
Nah, so when I reached out to him, he hung up on me.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And that was just the end of that. I never got
to that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully one day, you know what I mean, y'all can just get that some kind of understanding or some kind of, I won't say explanation, because like you said, there's no telling what was going on, but at least kind of figure each other's brains out. You know what I mean? Like, you know, how just let them know how things went for you in your life, and you know, and vice versa. So I saw you speak a little bit on redevelopment of the family. Tell me a little bit about that.
What exactly you want to know?
Oh man, so what's your idea of that? Like, you know, as far as the redevelopment of the family, or do you mean putting fathers back into the home kind of thing?
That, but it goes a little differently than that. Redevelopment of the family means exactly what it entitles: the restructuring, changing the roles and the dynamics. Like us as black people, we lost all of our structure during slavery. We held on to the basic components, the father being provider, the mother being the nurturer. But now, as you even looking and see how things on the internet over time, we've even lost those. And a part of this mindset really came from, I was having a conversation with my cousins, and I was thinking about how most of our practices, especially as black people, is not even based off what we believe is right and wrong. It's what other people believe is right and wrong. And we've just accepted those truths. Like, I tell anybody realistically who I am. I'm a Muslim. I have strong Muslim beliefs. But even when I wasn't a Muslim, I have certain beliefs. Like, I believe the father is the head of the household. That doesn't mean he's a dictator. That means the final say is with the father. But mind you, that condition is met off the fact he's the provider for the family. He's the protector of the family. You don't get to have the last say if you don't provide these components to your family.
Yeah.
Just like on the chessboard, the mother, the queen on the chessboard, is the main mover. She go anywhere. Why? Because a mother is really a rock in the family. Like, if you take away the mother role, you can damn near destroy a family, because there's certain things that a mother brings a father can never replace. Like, even when it means comfort. Like yesterday, me and my son were cooking, and he used a knife that I deliberately wasn't finna use. And I didn't tell him not to use it, but in my mind, like, if you want to use this knife, go ahead. He cut himself, small little cut. He's going crazy. It's a small cut. I don't really have no concern or emotions. I already know it's a small cut. You're going to be fine. That's the father instinct.
Right.
But the mother, what does the mother do? She's the comforter and the nurturer. Me not being who I am, if he didn't have his mother to teach him that, I could possibly raise a child that's numb to emotions and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm able to be a nurturer and a comforter, However, mine only goes so far. His mother meets that other portion of it that he needs.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I see it all the time. I have 4 kids, 4 young kids.
You've been busy. You've been busy
Five.
in a short period of time.
Yeah, man. 5, 4, 3, and 1. Like,
All by the same woman?
nah, I have my oldest is by another woman, and then I got 3 by my wife.
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, you ain't giving her no breaks.
Yeah, hey, all back to back, man. It gets crazy. But as far as like, even with my young son, he's 1 and he'll fall, whatever, stumble over. And he look up at me. I'm like, just looking at him. He look at his mom. She coming over, oh, my baby. And then here come to cry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
But there's a balance there. There's really even though men, we might be like, she's doing the most, or she might be looking at us like he's so careless. There's
yeah.
really a balance there, especially with a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Young, he needs to know, like, hey, you failed. There's some pain that comes with it, but then you look at dad and knows you're gonna be all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's really a decent balance that exists there with those roles. Opposed if mom is there all the time, you're probably finna raise the most sensitive child in the world. If there's no dad
Right.
that can show him, you will be fine. Vice versa, you got a dad there, no female there, his kid might grow up to be super numb to pain, to not just his own pain, but other people's pains.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a necessary balance that just exists right there.
Yeah. That's that's why I kind of hate that this narrative that's going around right now. Mainly it's mainly on podcasts and things like that where there's this men versus women thing, and it's like they act as if they don't need each other when in reality you really do.
You know what I'm seeing with a lot of these podcasts, and I'm an advocate what's right and what's wrong. I don't have a side. I don't care if a man says it and it's right or wrong. A woman say it right and wrong. Right is wrong is right and wrong. I see more so our black men coming at women more than black women are coming at the men on their podcasts.
Yes.
I watch the black men's podcast. It's like they're always correcting women. And then on the women's podcast, it's like they're always trying to justify why they do what they do, but they don't necessarily are coming at the men.
That is true. Yeah. 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 It's a it's an attack, but I don't know what it's based on.
It's based off that fact that we come from damaged, we come from broken families. Mind you, if you really look at the background, most of these men who are on these podcasts coming at women, they don't come from no great background. Kevin Samuels, one of my favorite speakers, but realistically, brother came from a single mother household.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean now the only thing I hate about the narrative painted from him is he opened the door for people to start doing this and making it popular, but nobody actually understood the intent on behind where he came from. Because I watched a lot of his older podcasts when he was correcting only men, and people don't speak on it. He went harder on the men than he ever went on women. It's when he finally decided to correct women. It's like he fueled something in a lot of males who've been holding some resentment or antagonization onto women. And now that they've reached a particular status in life where they can feel they can acquire the women that they want, they believe that's now became a criterion on now you have the ability to correct women. When reality is, I be seeing the women that these dudes be correcting, you can't save her. You correcting the wrong woman.
Yeah. Yeah. They talking to the ones who
You talking to the women, for a fact not finna listen to nothing you saying.
Yeah.
So you just doing this for views now.
Yeah.
Like I got a strong belief that men should only correct men. The only woman you should be trying to correct is your family members and your woman. And how you go about correcting them is the vital point in this. But like correcting the behaviors of all women, only a woman is going to be able to properly do that.
Man, I'm 100,000% with you on that. And I spoke on it on one of my other episodes, and I'm like, it's kind of the problem in the community where nobody is correcting anybody. We just allowing things to happen, and then everybody's looking around like, what's going on with the men? And and it's like you have people who should and can correct these men, and it's just like the younger they are, the more kind of like, I won't say corrupt, but the more
easily influenced.
Yeah. And they influenced by anything, and they move in this certain way, and it's getting out of hand.
Well, again, that's where it goes back to redevelopment of the family, where do you first learn correction with? Your parents.
Yeah.
Where are the parents at? These aren't parents no more that we got. These are now people with children, but these are not parents. How many TikToks now you see people making the most childish and immature TikToks with their child? These aren't parents no more.
Yeah.
The value system, but you can't blame them all the way, because a lot of the people, a lot of individual who does these things that are completely against what their own parents did, they're trying to escape something their parent didn't explain correctly or demonstrate correctly. And that goes now back to where parents back in the day didn't talk to their children. They just did what they did, but you didn't realize that this might not work with this particular individual. Just like how you got people who are auditory learners, visual learners, kinesthetic, whatever it is, learners. Children are no different. You can't just show somebody something. They may need to be verbally explained this. You can't just verbally explain certain things. Some people need to see this. And the kinetic, well, I say that's the experience. There's certain things you can't show somebody or explain. They just need to find out what it's like. But if you don't understand your child, you can't properly teach them and demonstrate them. And them lacking proper understanding, they may grow up now with resentment. And now when it comes time for them to have children, they're trying to do the completely opposite of what their parent did. Even though what their parent did may have been correct for them, they're now about to corrupt their own child based solely off their lack of own understanding.
So that's where that will be the new kind of definition of generational curse, passing that down.
Won't even say it's new, but every generation does it. Every generation decides they're going to do something slightly different than what the last generation did. And that's natural. That's fine, because we go through a stage of evolution. Evolution is always occurring. But the point of evolution means the process has to be improving. We're not seeing improvement, though. The only thing improvement that I do say that we see now is we have opened the door where children feel comfortable speaking to their parents. The problem is, what do you feel comfortable saying to your parent? Now, that's where the issue lies in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was at this party. I was doing security for this party the other day. And this was one of the things that let me know that we're still on a good direction with our children. I'm doing security at the 6-year-old's party. There's a 20-something-year-old female there. She's one of the older cousins. By the way, I would probably never date her around children a day in my life. But at the party, she's trying to figure out why none of the girls are dancing provocatively, twerking and all that. There's parents around. Not just there, but the boys too don't feel comfortable dancing with the girls because the level of dancing that's become popularized, they don't feel comfortable doing around their parents. Mm-hmm. Which means there's a level of respect and modesty that still exists in them. When you see a child that has no problem saying what they want to say around an adult or a parent, dancing, listening to music, they have no problem. That's a child that has no respect for all adult authority. Mm-hmm. So when you still see that level of nervousness and modesty and shyness, that's respect that still exists.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, because I've seen the opposite. Child wild out, like.
Yeah. Have you heard of this song called Peaches and Eggplants?
Oh, yeah.
My first time hearing it, I'm at the park. I see a woman twerking with her niece or her daughter. The girl ain't even over 16.
Man.
That's the first time ever hearing the song.
Yeah. Yeah,
They get it.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I don't know if you've seen this video where it's like a party of little girls dancing to some Sexy Red and Drake song.
Oh nah, I ain't even click. I ain't even click the button.
Yeah, and they're dancing, and you know it's a clean version, and they're not going too crazy. But me and him both have daughters, and we like, nah, you can't sing that one. I cannot let you. It's a little girl on a mic singing to her friends, and they all dancing and stuff.
We
I'm
say
like,
little. How little we talking?
they were probably 6, 7.
Oh nah, I ain't gonna
Yeah,
lie. Me and the mother we got a problem off the rip.
because what's going on in here? Like, why is this on the playlist in this party?
Yeah.
Like my daughters, we go Grace's Corner. You know, we going some Coco Melon. Well, they're a little older than Coco Melon, but all that stuff, man. That's what's on the playlist at the parties. The Disney princess songs and all that stuff like that.
But
Not
you know, to a degree, and I really can't even get mad at that because whether we actually pay attention or not, and me and one of my coworkers was having a conversation about this. Some of the same tactics that you see, like whether it's mothers or fathers, I'm kind of dry mouth. I ain't had no water all day.
oh man, I feel it.
Mothers and fathers, when you hear them playing certain type of music, a lot of our parents did the same thing around us,
Absolutely.
just different music, but the message was actually still the same. It's just it was worded different. Like one of my favorite songs when I was 7 years old was "Nobody" by Keith Sweat.
Yeah. Okay.
Mind you, I have no idea what this song is actually about. I
Right.
liked how it sounded.
Mm-hmm.
My mother, she hear me sing the lyrics, she's like, "Boy, shut up! You don't know what you're talking about." 10 years later, I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about."
Yeah.
So for kids, it also be the same thing. Like they'll sing a song, and it may be provocative. It is. They may not really get what they're saying just yet.
Yeah.
Same thing. Parents did it around us. They play songs around us. Now that we actually know what they're talking about, we ain't need to be listening to that.
Yeah.
I ain't need to be listening to no Teddy Pendergrass. I don't care how good it sound. I ain't need to be listening to Turn Off the Lights.
And what's funny is as we said that, like, you know, nah, they can't have that on, this and that. And then he's like, he kind of said the same thing you said, where it wasn't no better with us. And he like, and it's not like we turned out to be not that stuff that's in that music, because now this generation is full of regular people with regular jobs who have OnlyFans and don't care about talking about their sex life on social media and all the stuff like that.
And we
we
ain't
were,
grow up off no Sexy Red. We ain't grow up off no Cardi B. We ain't grow up off no Young Nudie. We
yeah,
grew up off of all the people back in my day. We had good music. No, it's not. You produced us. That ain't no good music. It just sound better.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and then the thing is, it wasn't, because what I was hearing as a youngin', the first song that pops in my head is "It Ain't No Fun If the Homies Can't Have None," and that's an insane song for me to hear as a super youngin'. I don't know what's going on, but when I listen to it now, I'm like, oh, that song was wild. Like, and it's if you really get into it, it's like programming. You know, once you if you stay on that and that's the only thing that's going into your brain, it can really transform how you think. Of course, that wasn't the only thing, but I'm saying for some people, it can go that way.
Like I'm gonna tell you a song that's so good. They just made a dance to it a few years ago. This is a song from the '90s. You probably know what song I'm about to say. And the song is so good. Tamia, Can't Get Enough of You.
Oh, yeah. Where they do the shuffle with the feet.
Super good song.
Yeah.
Mind you, I didn't pay attention to the song until they came out with the dance.
Yeah, me neither.
So I'm listening to the words. She talking about getting wet. She basically talking about getting dick down. And I'm thinking like, I remember hearing this as a kid, and now I'm listening to the lyrics like,
yeah, she wild.
oh, that's wild.
I've never heard the song still now. I've heard it on the video. I've never put that on to listen to it. I don't even know.
Listen to the words, and if you think, because you probably heard when you were younger, but it
Yeah.
sounds so good, you not think about the words, and that's how they mass music. I know we're getting a little off topic, but this does go into family development on
Yeah.
what's getting put to your children. Like I'm gonna tell you a song that came out a couple years back. I ain't never listened to the words because it sounded so good. I didn't need to at the time.
Yeah.
It's a song by SZA called "Snooze."
Oh, yeah.
I'd never listened to the words, and this was one of my favorite radio songs. Somebody posted the video with the lyrics, and when I actually read the lyrics, little girl listened to this. I said, hey, "Turn it off. It's over with. Turn that
I'm
off."
telling you, I'm trying to think of the lyrics because that's my I love that song as well.
Man, the girl talking about going to prison for her dude, hiding dead bodies, putting in work for him,
Oh, so that's
robbing,
what a video like that.
scheming. And I'm not talking about insinuating. This is what she's actually saying.
Oh, yeah.
But you listen to the melody, it sounds so good.
Mm-hmm.
Your subconscious hear it. Your regular conscious doesn't.
Yeah. That's how it goes. That's the scary part in the music, honestly.
Yeah. And that falls on a parent because as a parent, and I'm a parent. I'm 28. I got a 9-year-old. I listen to that song with my son multiple times on the radio. I don't even know what I'm actually listening to with my child with. I'm thinking this is an R&B love song because the only thing I can hear is the chorus. I don't hear what's going on in the verse.
Yeah.
So as a parent, you have to be very mindful what you're listening to because you can easily pass that on to your child. Redevelopment of family means you are being 100% conscious on what you're teaching your child, what you're allowing them to do, and all this is going to be based off what you do.
Yeah. Because they're sponges right now.
Yeah. So are you. You know, and that's something I don't want nobody to ever lose track of. Just because you're an adult, you're a sponge too. Mm-hmm. How many people, what's your age group, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 29.
You 29?
Yeah, I just turned 29. Yeah.
Hey, my bad. I thought you was like 36, 37. My
bad. Yeah, I get that a lot. And I'm bald.
I was about to give you a compliment and an insult all at once.
I say, yeah, man, your old ass, man, you kind of,
Yeah, I was going to say, I wish your age, I know back in your day, that's when, a person that aged you, when they put it back in your day on you.
Yeah.
I'm 28. I just turned 28.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. See, yeah, you're younger than me. Yeah.
Yeah. But I got to hope, but mind you, just because you're an adult, you're still a sponge. Just as easily as I became addicted and loved that song, and I didn't even know what was being said, how many adults become the same way?
Oh, yeah.
Like, think about how many views you had when you was younger, you were strong about. But now, because of everything that's been exposed around you and how common it is, you've now may have even wavered a little bit in your belief.
Oh, yeah. Some stuff is completely different from how I thought about it as a youngin'.
Yeah. Like certain things, let me give you an example. What's something I'm strong? Again, I'm trying to get nobody. Don't cancel us for this. Like I said, I'm a Muslim. I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. Mm-hmm. For a while, though, because of so much exposure, and I've always believed that. For a while, I was saying if that's what people want to do, that's what people want to do. I don't care. I still don't care to a degree. I just don't want it done around me.
Yeah.
But see how easy, when I was a kid, I didn't want to hear none of that. You get exposed to it enough, even as an adult, you can easily say, better yet, not only do you get exposed to it as an adult, let somebody you love deeply get involved with it themselves. And out of love for that person, you now start to waver what you know is right and wrong. Mm-hmm. Everybody's a sponge. Yeah. Just because you're an adult, don't think you're not a sponge like that child. If anything, I believe even the older you get, the more easily influenced you can get. Because guess what kids do? Kids question everything. Adults start to ask less questions.
Start to conform. And I mean, that's evident in how, even what you were speaking about, the fact that it's accepted for, all of the LGBT things to be around. And I'm not talking just like in your community. I'm talking in the music, TV, movies, and it's accepted and it's got to be accepted. And nobody asks a question about it. And you can't ask a question about it. If you do ask a question, you get canceled. Or if you do ask a question, you get ridiculed for even asking about it. You just got to accept it when it's put in front of you. And that's just kind of how that go now.
Yeah, well, I ain't afraid to lose my Facebook account. It's all right.
Yeah. So a little bit back to your book. Was there a period where you felt like you couldn't forgive your father, or felt like, angry or anything like that towards him?
When I had my son,
Ah,
that's when I actually started to really think about my own father.
yeah.
Beforehand, when I was thinking about him, it was I wanted to reach out to him finally as my dad. But the anger, when I had my own child, because I came close to walking out my own son's life when he was right before he was born, just for the simple fact is, I'm a gang member. I don't have my life together. I ain't having no father. All these excuses I created in my mind why I can't be there present and why it'd probably be best if I wasn't. Once I actually saw my son born, there was no way in hell I could actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
But the more time I spent around my son, I really started to think about my own father. Like, what made you not want to be here? So now
Man,
that's where the anger really started to come to fruit when you have children of your own. And once you didn't make the decision they did, now you really want to know, why did you do it?
I connect with that directly. That was the basis of how I told you me and my father had a heated kind of discussion. That
Yeah.
was the whole base, because when we spoke, at the time I had 3 kids, and
Number
like I
4
said,
was on the way.
was on yeah, he was about to be on the way. And my whole thing was, my oldest son is out of town. He stayed with his mom like through the school year, and he'll come here. I'll go drive and get him. No thing. It's no problem. And I'm telling my dad, like, you were in town. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm like,
Okay,
we
shout out to the NC.
for sure. I'm like, we were both here. And he gave me things like, I didn't know where your mama stayed and all this. I'm like, my grandma never moved. Like, I remember growing up in my grandma's house, and he was around my grandma, because he knew my mom since they were like kids. So it's like, my whole thing, I'm just like, how can you possibly not be there for your son? I don't understand. I couldn't understand it by the time I had kids, especially when because with my son, it was a kind of unique situation. Like, well, I won't say unique, but it was a thing where I didn't meet him till he was 3. And I had my daughters, and they were living with me by my wife. And I met him when he turned 3. I went to his 3-year-old birthday party. And I met him there, and we kind of just took off from there. Like, it never stopped. All he knows is me as far as dad goes. He don't remember nothing before that. And it's like, if I did that, what's so hard about being a local dad? I didn't get it. I still can't process it. I mean, he said what he said, and he was young and all stuff like that. But I'm like, it's not as hard as, oh, I just can't do this. I'm just not gonna be around. That part I never will understand.
I'm gonna tell you something. I heard somebody make this statement. I was on this panel about fatherhood before, and one of the guys in the audience, he made a comment that I'll never forget. Because the topic of discussion was about. Let me ask first: were they married when they had you?
Nah, they weren't married.
All right, then that's gonna even go more. What I said, my parents weren't married either. The man in the audience, he made a comment. He said, "We're raising the issue about absent fathers, but we're not really raising the issue about absent husbands." Everybody in the crowd was a little thrilled at first. We didn't really get where he was going at. But he made a statement. He said, you have such a lack of fathers because you have a lack of husbands. A man's commitment to his family usually stems through his commitment to that woman. It's not the same with women. Women, she carries the child, so her commitment to that child is a little bit different than that man is. That man's connection to that child is through her. Think about it. It had to go in her womb to even create the child.
Mm-hmm.
Most dealings with the child, what does it stem with? Between the mother. The mother's always like the intermediator, whatever the word is. So when you already have a situation where this man has no true commitment to the mother, it's not necessarily this is what's going to happen, but there's a higher chance he will probably leave out of this child's life opposed to a man who had a commitment to the mother already.
Mm. Yeah, and I
That's just
understand that.
one side of it. That's just one side. You know, there's other factors.
Yeah, because like I can understand that point of view, but I think what made me kind of get some resentment was kind of the fact that I wasn't married at all, or me and the my oldest son's mom, we weren't even together. Like we were never together. It was kind of just a, had thing going on or whatever, and we had a child. And I'm like, that's the part that kind of made it where it didn't make sense to me no more. Cause like how you said, if a man is committed to his family through his woman, then that's one thing. But I feel like there's got to be some kind of connection to the kids outside of the mom. You know what I mean?
And, you know, to me, that could go into many different ways. Like men, we don't really realize what type of connection we have in the child. Because even though you have to go in the womb to make the child, the sperm comes out the man.
Mhm.
So you have an indirect relationship with that child from the very moment because they have to come directly out of you.
Right.
Your direct relationship is going to come from between her. There's an indirect relationship that comes from what's already in you. And we don't really understand the process we play in creating this child from the very beginning. And that's why I'm so strong about redeveloping the family because we have to revisit our perceptions on roles. Like one of the things I believe that tears a parent and a child relationship apart is when a parent doesn't realize the role their own child plays biologically through nature. Like I had a heated debate with my sister and my cousins one day because they don't really understand a lot of my views. I have views most people don't agree with. I made a statement. I didn't say this was something I wanted. I said I just made a statement. I said at 15, 16, if my daughter decided she wants to get married, I'm all right with that. Now they heard something completely different than what I actually said. Like they went off on me, like you trying to sell her off for money, and that
Um,
they didn't hear anything I said.
yeah.
I just simply said at 15, 16, if my daughter decides she wants to get married, I'm all right with that. How come I'm all right with that? Because I understand the laws of nature. I'm from the hood. How many girls you see in the hood get pregnant at 13, 14? You know why? Children don't get pregnant. Adults do. Biologically, something changes in a person that turns them an adult. Psych wise, that's different. Because you could be biologically adult, you could be mentally a child all day.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not balanced. But biologically, you become an adult. Parents, because of how we're raised over here and taught to believe, we don't recognize the laws of nature. So what happens when a boy goes through puberty? There's certain actions he's now ready to commit. I ain't even talking about sex. That if a parent doesn't understand the stage and role he's going into, they're going to think this child's being rebellious or the sense we call you trying to be grown. But that's what's going on. This child is growing. This child is becoming grown. So now there's a level of responsibility that that child has to now be eased into because this isn't biologically a child no more. This is technically an adult. So there's certain actions, pathways that has to be allowed to happen. But if you don't understand how the laws of nature work, you're going to go to war with your own child because they're just trying to rightfully act out their nature. But you don't get that. So if you don't recognize these patterns, it's like a girl. If girl, guess what? Something I learned from watching pastors' children. These motherfuckers are gonna do what they want to do.
Yeah.
You try to suppress that enough, though, they're gonna be rebellious in doing what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
What you do is you learn how to guide them and mold them. So now, say realistically, most girls don't want to get married young anyway. To be honest with you, most girls don't even really want to be with nobody They're just curious about the opposite sex. But now, if you're strong hold against that curiosity can turn to sneakiness. And then it can turn to rebellious behavior and devilment that put her in a situation now she ain't ready for. When it all said and done, she was just curious.
Yeah.
Same with a boy.
I was just gonna ask, do you think it's the same with boys?
Exactly. You try to suppress something in anybody, there's a dual nature that acts in all people. There's that God nature and there's that devil nature too. You suppress one gets strong enough, but usually that devil nature has to get suppressed by that person themselves, not an outer person. What most of us do is we suppress the God nature in someone. What is that God nature? That biological right that just happens. If a boy is curious about women, guess what? He's gonna want to go get him a woman or a female, whatever age group you in. The thing is, you against that, he's gonna do what he want to do. But you should be telling him, well, if you want to be with a female, hey, this is what comes. This is really what comes. You have to learn how to maintain her. Because guess what? What happens if you decide to be involved with her? She gets pregnant. If you walk out of her, one, there's karma that's going to come into your life you ain't going to want. Mm-hmm. Two, you might be raising your future killer because this kid might come get some revenge on you later on in life. And really, you won't know how to feel as a person. You just got to learn how to guide someone. It's the same with boys and girls. It's just different on how it plays out.
Yeah.
Girl, guess what? Girls get attracted to men. It's natural. Don't no father like the idea of his daughter being with nobody.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be ignorant or arrogant enough to believe it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So now that you know, hey, especially once she done reached her menstrual cycle, now there's certain conversations need to be had like, hey, you're going to be attracted to males someday. But this is what you need to actually be looking for in a male. You guide that. So now when that curiosity does happen, one, there's a relationship with y'all that's strong enough. But think about it. How many girls you see bringing dudes home now to meet their dads in the black community?
Does it happen now? I'm not.
You know
I'm
why
not.
it doesn't happen now? To me, for two reasons. One, most girls don't got their dads now. But two, because most of them don't feel comfortable. And the ones that do feel comfortable is not because she respects her dad, it's because her dad a homeboy. So then she's not introducing her boyfriend to her father. She's introducing her boyfriend to her homeboy.
And I don't know any dads with like teenage young daughters. All the dads I know either have young kids like me or they have just grown, like my granddad, my mom. I don't know anybody who's dealing with that in this present moment. I know a lot of people who are on the way and they gonna have to deal with it when they get there, but I don't know anybody dealing with that right now.
Yeah, you need to find out how to deal with it before it even happens.
Oh yeah.
Because you're gonna wake up one day, you're gonna be looking at your son, and he now got a mustache.
Yeah.
Guess what? He probably can produce actual sperm now. That means if he get fast enough, you might be grandpa. He 14.
And
I had a homeboy who got a girl pregnant when he was 12. She was 18. She didn't find out how old he was until after she got pregnant.
That's like I can't say unfair, but that's so like unfortunate for the 12-year-old, because all of a sudden you are faced with man things as a actual child. And I've been having a couple different conversations and also on the podcast as well, where my stance is kind of like what we're missing in our community is what I call OGs, or like uncles, granddads, older cousin, like got 30, 40 years on you. And it's making it to where men our age or a little bit under us, like the 23 and up kind of, they don't even know what it takes to be a man. And my thing is, I don't think that having kids makes you a man. I don't think that having a job makes you a man. I think it's about your mentality. But nobody is showing us / them how to even process everything that goes on with you as a man. So when this stuff is coming at you and it's hitting you, you don't even know, oh, this is man stuff. You just thinking all of this stuff is coming at you. This is normal things. Like just anything you can probably think of. This is all normal things. But you don't know that, oh, this is what it is to become a man. You don't even know that that's what's going on.
That's why in my book, like it's a short read, but it's a very raw read too. I get to a level of vulnerability there I didn't even think was possible for me because that's not in my nature. I'm just not a real vulnerable person like that. But I get to a level of vulnerability, and one of the things I tackle, like I said, this book is for men. Women, you can benefit from it, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be about your father. It's about repairing a relationship, period. But it aims at levels in masculine. Like in chapter 1, I talk about how not having my father affected my identity as a man. Like early on, I come from female majority women, no uncles. Like I don't have any uncles. I don't have no older cousins. I was the older cousin. So I don't have no direct male figures in my life. Guess who becomes your direct male figures? The block.
Yeah.
Mind you, you find out later on in life. And what I'm telling you now is stuff that's in the book you'll see. What you find out is the dudes now you done turn to on the block for guidance are actually dealing with the same issues you got and ain't got the answers. So what they got is what you call supplementary things for it. It's not actually working, but this is supplements. That's the word I'm looking for. They got supplements for these issues, but it doesn't actually work. It's just stuff you're taking just to deal with it.
Yeah, suppress everything.
Exactly. Suppress it, hide other things. I learned how to fight, not because I actually want to know how to fight. I learned how to fight because you got told, boys fight. We're rough. We deal with everything with fighting. We don't talk about nothing. You say the wrong thing, we fighting. You ain't taught, hey, you say the wrong thing to somebody. There may be a level of physical accountability that comes with it. However, if y'all know how to think properly, this is probably something you could talk about. I'm telling my son yesterday, because my son was saying something about he got mad talking to somebody. And I told him, if you get mad, you can talk about it. You know why? Because learning how to talk about your emotion gives you the outlook on how to actually deal with the emotion, how to deal with the problem. But you don't deal with it, you suppress it, or you let it out in other ways. Now it's going to bring you a consequence where now you got a new problem, but your old problem still exists.
Still there. It's going to come back up. Anytime that kind of situation presents itself, it's just going to come back up again.
Yeah.
Well, look, man, I really hate to cut the conversation. I'm running up on my time. I appreciate you coming to speak. I'm wishing you the best of luck as far as, I don't know if you plan on writing more books. I'm definitely about to get into this book. And, you know, you can let the people know where they can find you. Any socials, anything like that, anything you got coming up, you can let them know.
You can find me on Instagram at NUKPU_IAM. That's Nukpu IAM. What I'm doing is if you want to get the book directly from me on signed copy, just DM me. We'll work out the arrangements. Once you let me know where to send it to, you send your payment. I send it directly to you. I got mad receipts to let you know I'm a man of my word. You find me on Facebook as Ibrahiem Mallese. I ain't going to spend no time trying to actually spell that out for you, so it's right here. Because this is a long name, so I ain't going to take them 2 minutes trying to spell it out. Right now, what I'm working on is I'm doing these small speaking practices where I'm learning how to be a public speaker. Again, it is a pleasure talking to y'all. If I could leave you with anything, learn how to restructure, redevelop your family. Because you start to find out almost everything as Black people, we practice our traditions, how we believe, is not because we actually believe them. It's because everybody else that gave them to us and we just accepted it. We don't even question it no more.
Appreciate you, man.
Peace and blessings, God.
Peace out, man.